Hi, it's Danielle Winger. I am just doing my video response to Dr. Forth's podcast about assessment and diagnosis. I found it very informative and very intriguing, and I can't wait to further learn more about assessments and possibly different diagnoses that school counselors and clinical mental health professionals will be looking into. At the very beginning of her podcast, at the 38-second mark, I really found it interesting that the purpose behind assessments and giving a client a diagnosis was for the creation of a common language and a common frame of reference. I know as a public school teacher that when we do have concerns about a student, having a common language when we talk about that student makes things very easy to kind of discuss and come up with a solution or a path to better meet the student's needs instead of, well, this is how I would describe the student, and someone else saying, well, this is how I would describe the student. Having a common language and being able to say, well, this student has common features of this diagnosis, or this student has expressed these different types of features from this diagnosis, makes it a lot easier for everyone to have that commonality and meet on a middle ground, especially when you have to have those hard conversations with parents. I also liked that at the 2-minute and 24-second mark, she discussed having medical or physical, I think the term she used was organic concerns. That reminded me a lot of being a school teacher. A lot of times the first thing that you ask a parent is, have you spoken with your child's pediatrician about any of these concerns? Or have they had a well kid checkup in a while, and have you mentioned any of these concerns? As a school professional, like Dr. Forth stated, we aren't allowed to diagnose or state that a parent and their child need to receive any physical or mental health, but we are allowed to ask them or even state, well, if it was my child, I would probably start here. It's like Dr. Forth said, sometimes children or clients have a perceived diagnosis when really it is a physical or organic health related issue. And so just getting that checked off before looking at any other factors or symptoms can stop you right there from having to do any further assessments. One of the concerns that I did have at the 6-minute and 23-second mark was when she described giving assessments to clients and diagnosing them with some form of mental health related or illness related label, I guess, or a category, was that it's kind of perceived as more of a problem-based or a problem-focused. It's more of a, this is your illness, this is how it's impacting your ability in society and your ability to function in a family, and so we need to fix it. And my concern was, if you are working with a client or a student that does have an illness or a diagnosis, how do you keep that from being negatively focused or keep it from the client seeing it as a negative thing that they are having to process through? And so I thought that I would dig a little deeper and do a little bit more research on that area where I was concerned. I didn't think that you could be problem focused as well as solution focused at the same time. But digging a little deeper into that, in the Ask a School Counselor digital article, it's actually one that Dr. Fisher had posted for my comprehensive school counseling class. It is an article written by Russell A. Sabella, who has his PhD, and it is a Mythbusters journal article, which I thought was really interesting. And it is about how you can both have solution focused counseling as well as still addressing what the client or student perceives as a problem. It goes on to explain how listening to a client or a student describe their problem or symptoms or their illness or diagnosis, it actually builds rapport with the client. It shows them that you are not afraid to work with them, that it is not a debilitating issue, that you can discuss the problem, you can be realistic about the problem, but that you can also take that problem and you can create some form of solution. So if a client seems to be expressing or it seems to be having common features of being bipolar or being on the autism spectrum, you can discuss different ways that you can still have this problem, but you can create solutions to whatever obstacle they may be facing. So I thought that was interesting, that you can discuss problems, but also be solution-based or solution-focused.